right. Well, welcome to today's webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Today, we're focusing on healthy aging across the lifespan. Live San Diego is celebrating 15 years of promoting health, safety, and well-being. And in part of this milestone, we are hosting a year-long series of webinars, networking events, and online engagement. So we're here today to stay connected, share new insights, and continue the important work we've started together. My name is Matthew Parcasio. I'm the Caregiver Programs and Outreach Coordinator with the County of San Diego Aging and Independence Services, and I'm honored to be your moderator today. Here's what's on the agenda. We'll hear from Martha Rañon from Southern Caregiver Resource Center on healthy aging across the lifespan. Afterwards, we'll have a Q&A session. You'll also have an opportunity for feedback following the Q&A session, so let's get started. Just a few reminders before we begin. The webinar is being recorded and your lines are muted. Please remember to submit your questions in the Q&A box, which is a button at the bottom center of your screen. So if you have comments to share during the presentation, you can input them in the chat box. And due to time constraints, we don't get to your question today, or you want to reach out to our team, you can follow up with us via email at the email address listed on the screen and shared in the chat. We'll also be sending out answers to the questions and Martha's PowerPoint in a follow-up email. If you'd like to receive a recording of today's webinar, please sign up for the email updates by scanning the QR code or clicking on the link shared in the chat. We'll also be uploading the recording to our Virtual Connection Hub page, so check it out there. Now, for our presentation, Healthy Aging Across the Lifespan. Martha Rañon is the Executive Vice President at Southern Caregiver Resource Center, also known as SCRC. A caregiver herself, she first got connected with SCRC while taking care of her 93-year-old great-aunt who had dementia. The guidance and support that she received was invaluable and motivated her to further assist this organization with its mission. Martha's background is in health and public policy, and she has an extensive knowledge of conducting presentations and managing education and public relation campaigns. Martha can now be seen in person and online throughout San Diego and Imperial counties, utilizing her advocacy, expertise, and conducting educational presentations with the goal of empowering caregivers everywhere. If you have questions for Martha, please put them in the Q&A box to be addressed after the presentation. With that, I'll pass it on to Martha. Take it away.
Thank you, Matthew. It's such a pleasure to be here as always, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to our audience today about a topic that is very interesting, I think, for a lot of us, but also very important. Healthy aging across the lifespan is something that I don't think a lot of us might consider when we think of aging. I think a lot of us think about a certain period in our lives when it comes to aging, but it's really pertaining to the whole spectrum of life. I hope that a lot of you here are taking notes and maybe can share this information with others who might be in this situation. And so let's get started. Next slide, please. So our learning objectives today are going to be focusing on understanding the concept of healthy aging, learn how caregivers can incorporate some of these concepts into our daily lives, explore how family caregivers can apply healthy aging to their everyday activities, as well as I will be sharing some guidelines and key recommendations. Next slide, please. So before we continue into our conversation, I want to share with you why this conversation is so important as it relates to aging and caregivers. These are some statistics that pertain to our county, San Diego County. And according to the San Diego County 2019-2023 demographic profile, it states that there are about 490,000 adults 65 plus living in San Diego County. The data that we collect here at SCRC states that there are approximately 650,000 unpaid family caregivers, out of that group, there are 245,000 caring for someone with some form of dementia. Let that just be sinking for a little bit. That's a lot of people caring for someone with a form of dementia in San Diego County. And that is why today is so important as we consider making some positive lifestyle choices to contribute to our health, and also as we grow older and maybe are in this caregiving role. Next slide, please. So what is aging? I want you to think about this question. What does aging mean to you? And of course, you can write it down for yourself. You don't have to necessarily share it, but I just want you to think about it. What does aging mean to you? Now, there are several definitions of aging. For today's presentation, I'm going to go with the National Institute on Aging, which says that aging is associated with changes in dynamic, biological, physiological, environmental, psychological, behavioral, and social processes. Now, if this definition makes you ask, what does that mean? Well, we're going to be talking about this pretty soon. So next slide, please. So now see if we can define what healthy aging is. According to the CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control, healthy aging is the process of maintaining good physical, mental, and social health and well-being as we grow older. It is a combination of factors that include adopting a healthy mindset earlier in life, so that way as we age, we avoid some of the complications that may arise or might come later. Challenging this belief that healthy aging is only for older adults. In reality, it should start at any age. Healthy habits and making positive life choices help contribute to overall well-being as we age. So this is very important for us to consider this different mindset. Next slide, please. And speaking of which, a good question to ask ourselves is, why should healthy aging matter to me? And I know it seems like it's a no-brainer, right? Of course, healthy aging is something that we should all engage in. But I think with all of us being so busy and so having so many responsibilities, especially if there are caregivers here listening, healthy aging is not something that might be in the forefront of our minds, but it is very important. And it's not uncommon that the main focus for family caregivers is that of their care receiver, right? Those of you who are caring for someone else, put that focus on them before you put it on yourselves, which means it's easy to overlook your own health. It's easy to overlook your health as it pertains to the lifespan, right? And how we are needing to make adaptations as we age. So think about it. If you are sick and you are caring for someone else, then now those two individuals, you and that person, are going to need someone to take care of you. And now that is even more challenging. So that's why we want to make sure that all of us, all of you are there listening, all of our caregivers don't ignore their own health, especially so that they are better equipped to provide sustained, compassionate support and reduce your need of care later in life. This is what adopting a healthy mindset means. So we can think of a healthy aging throughout the lifespan and provide a positive relationship between the care receiver and the caregiver. Next slide, please. So here are some suggestions for healthy habits that can lead to healthy aging. So according to the CDC again, These healthy habits might include nutrition. And what we mean by nutrition is, of course, maintaining a healthy, balanced diet. Now, of course, I'm not saying, don't have your treats and the fun things like ice cream. Just have them as treats, not as part of your daily nutrition. Physical activity. Keep your body active by doing regular exercise. I believe that right now the standard suggestion is 30 minutes every day of some sort of physical activity. Mental functioning. Keep your mind stimulated. What does that mean? Well, play to your interests. Maybe you like to read. Maybe you like to do crossword puzzles or Sudoku. So something like that that keeps your mind stimulated. And of course, get enough sleep. Now, with social well-being, this is really important. As we age, or actually at any part of our lives, it is important to stay socially connected and engaged with others. This is really important because sometimes, especially, we work with family caregivers, we find that sometimes caregivers tend to stay isolated. They kind of have so many other responsibilities. And so we want to make sure that you understand that social well-being is part of this healthy aging. Emotional well-being means managing stress, having a positive outlook, seeking support when needed. Injury prevention. It's a given that we should avoid falls, other injuries by taking precautions and practicing safe driving. A good healthcare routine means keeping up with your regular checkups, vaccines, screenings, managing chronic conditions, communicating with your doctors, your physicians, etc. Next slide, please. So now I'm gonna here you have a flow chart, and it's just a really visual representation from the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2020-2025, which shows that foods and beverages that people consume have a profound effect on their health. There is a scientific connection between food and health that has been documented for decades, which demonstrates that a healthy lifestyle including following a healthy dietary plan, can help people achieve good health as well as reduce the risk of chronic disease throughout the lifespan. So here you have that. And of course, we're going to talk about more ways to increase a healthy mindset. Next, please. So now we go into physical activity, and I do recognize that I'm going a little bit fast because we only have a limited time, but this information will be available to you later. But when it comes to physical activity, according to the physical activity guidelines for Americans, being physically active is one of the most important things that people can do at any age and improve their health. Health benefits start immediately because when you're exercising, there is so much that's going on that is of benefit to your body, right? You're oxygenating your brain, you're getting your blood flow, you are doing cardio, maybe you're socializing as you're walking. So these have immediate positive effects on the individual. Adults should move more and sit less throughout the day. I think we all know that, especially those of you who might be working and standing or sitting in front of a computer for a large part of the day. It's important to incorporate some physical activity. Of course, some is better than none. So if you can only do a couple of minutes here and there, that's fine. We just want to make sure that you know to incorporate some sort of a physical activity throughout the day. So adults who sit less and do any amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity can gain some benefits. So just keep that in mind. Here it has about 30 minutes a week, 150 minutes a week. So it's about 30 minutes a day. That is the recommendation. Of course, if you can do more, great. If you can only do a little bit and maybe it's less, that's fine. Um, adults should also do some muscle strengthening activities, some sort of greater intensity to involve all of the major group muscles, um, maybe 2 times per week. And so these activities provide additional benefits. So it's not just 30 minutes, but incorporating some strenuous activity as well. Now, for older adults, part of your weekly physical activity should include some sort of a balance training as well as aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. Now, keeping in mind, and this is very important, older adults should determine their level of effort for physical activity relative to their level of fitness, ability, and condition. It goes without saying that being aware of what your limitations are is very important, whether you are an older adult or not. You know your body best, you know what you are able to do. So don't push yourself to a point where you get hurt, but just be aware of what you can and cannot do and figure out a way to incorporate other activities as well. This is really important. So, next slide, please. So mental functioning, I mentioned earlier that there are many caregivers in San Diego County who are caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease or some form of dementia. Now, these conditions are usually at the forefront when we think of mental functioning and cognitive health. It is important to know that small changes can make a big difference in lowering your risk of dementia. Some of these changes can be staying physically active, like we've been talking about. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, and in turn, it helps the brain have proper function. We often forget about the brain, right? We're so focused on building muscle or losing weight, but we forget that the brain is tied to our bodies. And so we need to consider that what happens with the body, it is tied to the brain. So managing blood pressure, for example, to help prevent and manage diabetes. The vascular system is tied to the brain, right? It feeds from the blood. It feeds from the oxygenated blood that circulates through your body. So it is important to keep that blood pressure down. Also prevent and correct hearing loss. Now, why is that? It's very interesting because we know that sometimes, maybe when we were younger, we weren't as aware or cognizant of our hearing capabilities, but then as we age, we are. And it's really important because research has shown that having hearing loss can make the brain work harder in areas that kind of compensating, right, for thinking and memory recall. It also leads to people being less socially engaged, which is important because we don't want that, right? We don't want the isolation. We want people to stay engaged. But if you can't hear or be part of the conversation, then people start taking themselves out. So it is important to see a doctor and try to manage that hearing loss. Now, try to limit or avoid smoking and alcohol consumption. We know that, but smoking and alcohol intake can increase blood pressure, which can increase blood glucose, and that can cause other issues with the vascular system, which again can lead to stroke or is tied to affecting the brain in a negative way. So the recommendation here is that, right, we need to also get enough sleep. We know that we see a lot of research that shows that when you get enough sleep, that's when your body is cleaning itself out. Think of like a cell phone, right? When it doesn't have any more battery, you connect it and then it's ready to go in the morning. Kind of the same idea, right? Your brain needs to do everything that it needs to do at night to clean itself out, to kind of store the memories, and then it's ready in the morning to forge ahead. We have seen that there are several studies that sleep quality directly impacts brain health, memory, and mood. So adequate sleep is important. And with Alzheimer's disease specifically, there is a buildup of beta amyloid protein that, if you don't get enough sleep or proper sleep, stays there instead of being cleaned out. So that's why it's important to maintain a good sleep hygiene. Okay, next slide, please. Social well-being. So this is a lot of what, Matt and the county have been doing for a couple of years now, is that really integrating this social aspect of our lifespan, right? With activities, with services, with information. We are social creatures by nature. So our relationship with families, with friends, with coworkers, community members, it's all important for our social well-being. To have a stable and supportive relationship is what helps us through the stressful moments of our lives. Social connections is not about how many friends we have. I know social media will, says the opposite, but it's not about how many friends you like your pictures. Really, it's about those quality friendships and those social connections, which is so important to protect our health when caring for someone else, especially. Here are just some health benefits that social well being can provide to family caregivers. It can help you reduce your risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, and anxiety. Think about that. How important and how free and cheap, right, it is to just engage in social interactions, social, relationships with people that you enjoy spending time with. This can have such a great positive impact on your life and can improve your ability to manage stress, anxiety, depression. I can promote healthy habits and physical activity. I talked about it earlier, right? You can get a group of your friends. Hey, let's go for a walk. And so now you're socializing and you're doing a physical activity. And it also improves sleep. Why? Because you are exercising. You are getting tired by exercising. So you sleep better. You have that energy that has been released, and now you are going to go to sleep and have a better night's sleep. So it is important. Now, social isolation is very real when it comes to family caregivers. It is common for those individuals to experience from their friends or loved ones that they don't fully understand their situation. As a result, there are those traditional sources of support that fade away. And that's when you start, it kind of becomes a vicious cycle, right? A vortex of these feelings of isolation that deepen. I know that when I was a family caregiver, I was so focused on caring for the well being of my aunt that my social networks started suffering, right? They would invite me to these gatherings or these events, but I was caring for my aunt, and it was probably inappropriate for me to take her to some of these activities. So then I started kind of withdrawing from those and became isolated because of that. And so we need to be very aware that if that is happening, that we reach out and connect with other resources. I know the county has several. We also have some here at SCRC. We have, support groups, counseling, but it could also be neighborhood networks, like recreation centers, knitting clubs, walking clubs, etc. Next slide, please. Now, with emotional well-being, what we want to really highlight when it comes to this is that emotional well-being plays a vital role in how we manage our thoughts, our feelings, and our relationships, right? It's really that thought process that's essential for navigating the demands of everyday life. So, a lot is happening in the world. How do we manage that? Well, there's not a lot of things that are, maybe they're out of our control, but managing our thoughts and our emotions is something that we can do, and it helps to be able to do that. Which, for caregivers is another added layer, right? With caregiving, it often involves intense emotional labor, unexpected challenges, ongoing stress, again, the dwindling support networks. When caregivers maintain a strong sense of emotional well being, they're better equipped to manage their thoughts and feelings of isolation, maintain social connections, and really just be able to manage any challenge that comes your way. Think about it. If you're upset, and the person that you're caring for, let's say, has dementia and keeps asking the same question over and over, and because you are in a negative frame of mind, what's going to happen when you react to that person? You're going to be upset, right? Stop asking me the question again and again, and now that person doesn't understand what's happening. So it is important to really manage those emotions, asking for help, understanding yourself, having that awareness, resolving conflicts in healthy ways, of course, is important, and that's how we build resilience, right? This is how we are better able to navigate through life. The skills that we utilize to adapt to uncertainty, to cope with stress, with caregiver burnout, is what's going to help us go through it. Research shows that emotional well being can lower the risk of illness, speed up recovery, improve overall quality of life, which means you have more energy, you have a stronger immune system, greater capacity to sustain care. In short, emotional well being just a luxury for caregivers, it's a necessity. And I say that with intensity because, sometimes we say, oh, I'm just going to put that aside. I don't need to do that. But we really need to make sure that we make this part of our daily activities. Next slide, please. Okay, with injury prevention, of course, this applies to anyone, right? It is important to prevent falls, injuries, not only as if you're younger or middle age or later in life, or if you're a caregiver or not. It's just important to really incorporate safety as a way to prevent injuries. According to the San Diego County Fall Prevention Task Force, the majority of the falls happen at home. And this can be in the home that the caregivers share with the care receivers. So additionally, if the fall risks are pretty intense, then the recuperating period, the recovery period is longer, right? And that's what I said earlier. Now there are two people who need care. So it's recommended that you figure out a way to maybe have an exercise program that includes balance. Talk to your doctor if you have noticed a lot of falls, whether it's on yourself or the person that you're caring for. Of course, review your medication, have an annual vision and hearing checkup. Sometimes that kind of throws our balance off. Keep your home safe. What does that mean? Don't have a lot of things that you can bump into or trip over. Do you really need that rug in the middle of the floor? It looks pretty, but if it's gonna not prevent you from, if it's gonna prevent you from being safe, then maybe you roll it up and put it away. And then, of course, talk to your family so that there is this understanding and support from others. Of course, as you are driving, wear your seatbelt, engage in safe driving habits, have someone available in case of an emergency so that you can call on them. It's also important to note that fall prevention is next week. I know the County of San Diego does a lot in terms of activities for the community, so maybe check that out to see what else you can learn from the services that they offer. Next, please. Okay, healthcare routine. The National Institute on Aging states that having regular checkups and health screenings is essential for catching a chronic disease early in its stage, as well as reducing the risk of diseases such as blood pressure, high cholesterol, which is all overall essential for this topic, right? Healthy aging. Now, this could be a challenge for family caregivers because oftentimes they neglect their care. And that's why maybe consider as you are taking that person to the doctor, you also incorporate your own checkups on that time. Regular screenings is important. Seek medical attention when you are noticing that there are some symptoms that don't sit well with you. Um, might have a chance to catch something early before it becomes a bigger issue when it's, not as treatable. Regular checkups help you do that. So don't neglect those. Keep your regular checkups, do your annual, screenings. Remember that it is important that you also take care of yourself. That's how you can become a better caregiver. And I speak a lot about caregiving because that is the perspective where we come from at Southern Caregiver Research Center. But it could also be the people that you live with, right? Your children, your spouses, your parents. It is important that you all get regular checkout or checkups. Next slide, please. So the takeaway is that when older adults thrive, caregivers can provide better support without compromising their own health. Healthy aging is not just about the person that you're caring for, but it's also about you. That has a direct impact on your health, stress level, ability to sustain care. Supporting independence in aging can prevent or delay institutional care, which eases the burden on families. And of course, it is always better to have all of you be as healthy as possible and incorporate that early in life, that mentality of maintaining a healthy lifestyle throughout your lifespan so that you can be better equipped to handle anything that might come your way later in life. So the next slide, please. We have a saying here at Southern Caregiver Research Center that says that the best way to be an effective caregiver is to take care of yourself. And really, it does go with all of the things that we were just talking about, right? You are optimizing your potential when you are feeling better. And that not only includes physical, but mental well-being. Next slide, please. Here's just a quick synopsis of all of the services that we offer. They're free to families, family caregivers in San Diego County, English and Spanish, online and in person. Thank you so much for putting that information. There is a workshop, Spanish workshop on October 15th this year, where we are going to be talking about the link from diabetes to dementia. And of course, if you're not able to go or because it is going to be all in Spanish, don't worry. We can still provide the support and we can provide resources. If you go to the next slide, this is a really important class and we're so appreciative of the county support because this is a class, evidence-based program that is offered to families who are caring for someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, or memory loss. And it incorporates a lot of what we talked about, that self-care component, and also understanding what is happening with dementia, what it looks like, the symptoms, how to manage those difficult behaviors. So we invite you to join these free classes. Let us know, and we can get you set up. Next slide. Now, because you are all very tech savvy, or else you wouldn't be here, right? We invite you to visit our iCare portal, and there you can see a lot of videos, Instagram segments that we do. There is a monthly podcast where we talk about topics related to caregiving. We have a digital newsletter, and then, of course, a lot of videos that you can watch in the meantime as you are kind of navigating your caregiving journey, but also that are about self-care. You know, a lot of what I talked about is more detailed if you go visit our iCare portal. Next. Of course, we're on social media. This is how we are able to connect to individuals, share our events, talk about our upcoming activities. Here we have on the chat a reminder that we do have a monthly Instagram segment for caregivers who are Spanish speaking, Charla Café Cuidadores, and it's very similar to our podcast. We talk about topics related to caregiving. So if any of you want to check those out, feel free to do so. And then our last slide is our contact info. Of course, that's our website, that's our phone number. We're open 5 days a week, 8 to 5. Again, we can come to you. We can meet halfway. Really, our number one priority is supporting the family caregiver with resources, with information, with knowledge, so that you can become better caregivers to the person that you care for. So Matthew, I tried. I hope that was good in terms of timing.
That was great. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Martha, for this wonderful presentation. So yes, we have some time for questions, and
Okay.
including questions that were submitted during the registration. So please, since we do have a good amount of time, to continue to put some questions in the chat box, and we'll answer them as we have time. So we'll start off with the pre-submitted questions, and Martha, you answered quite a bit of these pre-submitted questions, not only in your presentation but also. So the one question that we had in the pre-submitted was, what are some essential resources, Martha, that caregivers should have access to?
Yes, we're so fortunate, really, that we live in San Diego County. I mean, I know we're this is a county event, but I am serious. I mean, the county of San Diego is amazing in providing all of these resources, free resources for the community. And I do believe that there is also this idea of having an age-friendly, just point of view when it comes to providing these programs. So, a type of resources that families could access, definitely, we talked about rec centers, right? Knowing where your rec centers are and what kind of classes they offer. If you need identifying, kind of having that self-awareness, if you think that you might need counseling, support groups, that's also very important. I believe that when we are in communion with others who are going through something similar, again, I know I'm talking about caregiving, but it can be other things, then it helps, right? We learn from each other. There's compassion, there's support, and there's really that idea that I'm not the only one, right? That there are other people who are going through something similar. So then there's that support within each other. And then, of course, reaching out to just others that might have similar interests, that maybe you can build your network. It doesn't have to be your family necessarily. I get that question a lot where people say, okay, well, I don't know. I think I need to include my sister, but she doesn't have time for me and she's so busy. There are so many groups that are able to kind of pique your interest, and maybe you can join them. And that's a good resource to have as you kind of start figuring out what it is that you might need.
Martha, you and I both know the importance that family caregivers should have respite. So I definitely want you to
Yes.
again stress that importance of respite
Yes.
for family caregivers.
Thank you. Let me talk a little bit about that. Yes, absolutely. We do have a program that a service that we offer for our caregivers that is respite. And what that is and what it does is gives you that break, right? Especially if you're all day 24/7 caring for someone, and if they have dementia or Alzheimer's, it's really difficult. You can't leave them alone. You can't expect that they're gonna cook or bathe. So sometimes it becomes a lot, and then it really affects your mental well-being that we were talking about, right? So we recognize that, and we want to give caregivers a break. We are so glad that the county sees that and has been supportive of that. It is important to seek help. Now, I gotta caution people because they think that, when I say that, they say, Martha, I don't, what do you mean? I can't go on vacation for a whole week. I can't afford that. I don't have time for that. I'm not even talking about a full week. I'm really talking about ways to incorporate some breaks. Go out for a walk for 30 minutes during your day. Don't try to clean the house or do the laundry. It's going to stay there. Just focus on your well-being. And that you can do with a friend or you can do by yourself and you can do it for free. And we live in San Diego, so it's a beautiful place that we, it's beautiful weather year round, so we could do that.
Thank you so much, Martha. Let's go to a question or comment that was recently in the chat box. This comes from Chasney Johnson, and appreciate any insight that you have for Chasney, Martha. Um, the feedback I have is regarding elders purchasing tobacco and alcohol items for themselves. For example, some elders are wheelchair bound and don't feel like going to the store themselves, so businesses are not witnessing and capturing their identification and leaving other family members to purchase tobacco and other items uh, to give to the elder who is wheelchair bound. Everyone should be responsible for their own actions, but this task seems so easy to take place. And also hand and body hygiene if people who are able to attend work for their career are required to wear clean clothes and have good hygiene. So it's hard for the person who is wheelchair bound to be responsible for their own needs. And so if hand and body hygiene is not accounted for, why is it easy to collect government assistance and if the person is not able to take care of themselves? So it sounds more or less kind of a focus on the person's accountability when it comes to caring for their health and well-being and the importance of their needs and hygiene. So what are your thoughts and on any of that?
I want to make sure that, sometimes it's a little difficult to say, well, let me tell you what you should do because nobody wants to be told that, right? And so if the person's living independently and this is what they like to do, it's going to be very difficult to get that person to agree to maybe, the person was talking about smoking, yes, maybe we want to say stop smoking, it's not good for you, but that person might not be so receptive. So then what do we do as family members, as caregivers? Really having those conversations, but also having that support network around the person. Um, Let me give you an example. There have been instances where caregivers notice or family members notice that, um, and this actually happened with me on a personal level. My aunt who I was caring for withdrew all her money from the bank because she thought, I need to keep it in my purse. And so I thought, you can't do that. That's so dangerous, but that's your money. So having the caregiver, or at least the family around them, noticing and having a conversation. I had a conversation with the bank manager, and I said, "Hey, look, I have power of attorney. This is what's happened. If she were to come in, can you let me know so that we can at least help her?" And she can get, her money, but it's not going to be all her money, so that it stays there. So it's really it's almost like a partnership, I guess what I'm trying to say. A partnership of the person the care receiver, the caregiver, family, friends, but also the businesses, right? I know that there is a big effort, I know in National City, for example, to incorporate the police department, the businesses, community groups to really rally around supporting the community and preventing whether it's theft or health issues, with certain individuals. So I would think it's bigger than just that person. Having that partnership is important. I hope that makes sense.
For that feedback, Martha. I want to highlight there was a pre-submitted question previously about how to navigate Medicare. In the chat, there is a resource that is called Elder Law and Advocacy that was entered, which also has HICAP, which is the Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program that can help individuals that need some counseling and support to navigate Medicare can go to for a resource. So if you are here, hopefully that helps you to answer your question in regard to navigating Medicare. There was also a pre-submitted question, Martha, which I think obviously is relative to your talk, is how can caregivers really help encourage older adults to really live those healthy lifestyles?
I think the understanding of where they are helps. What do I mean by that? Well, if you tell someone, let's go run a marathon, and that's not what they want to do, then they're not going to participate, and that's not something that's going to be appealing. So, kind of meeting them where they are, right? Let's go for a walk 30 minutes. I keep saying that because it's such an easy thing. And even it's an easy thing for all of us to be able to do, right? We're not asking you to run if you're not a runner, but just incorporate those activities is helpful.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat here. Do you have resources for San Diego residents whose elderly parents live in other California counties and or outside our state, yet they are the primary caretakers?
Yes, we do. The short answer is yes. And we are so fortunate to, again, not only live in San Diego County, but to live in California because we are at the forefront of services for family caregivers and for the aging community, which is really the aging community being all of us, but focusing on healthy aging. If you go to caregivercalifornia.org, and that's spelled out caregivercalifornia.org. We are a part of this network. This is a network of 11 caregiver resource centers throughout the state. So no matter where you are in the state of California, you just, go in there, put your zip code, drop down menu, and you can find out the nearest resource center for you. And that's where you can get resources, programs, support that you need. So it doesn't matter where you are, if you live within those service areas, you can get services. So, for example, with us, if you live in San Diego and Imperial counties, we can support you. And it doesn't matter that the person that you're caring for is outside of that service area because we are focusing on you as the caregiver. So, right here in San Diego, right, we have our bi-regional community, right? We have people who are living here, but maybe they take care of families in Mexico or Tijuana. We can help you. It's okay because you live in the service area that we provide services for.
Thank you, Martha. And just to add to Martha's response, I'm with Aging and Independence Services, and Aging and Independence Services is the designated area agency on aging here in San Diego. And there are other area agencies on aging in the state of California in different counties. So if you reached out to us and your loved ones live in another county in the state of California, they should be near or be able to reach out to an area agency on aging in their county. You can call us at 1-800-339-4661. That was 1-800-339-4661. Or if you wanted to reach out to that particular area agency on aging in their county, if they have a specific area code in their on their cell phone and they called 1-800-510-2020, they will get their area agency on aging in their county for any additional supports that they may need. All right, so let's see if there's any other additional questions. A pre-submitted question, and I think Martha, you answered this in your talk. Can caregiver resources be made available in Spanish to assist with emotional, social, or caregiver needs?
Absolutely. Everything we do is both in English and in Spanish, not just translated, but culturally appropriate. As a matter of fact, that flyer that I showed you that was called Calma, that was for caregivers caring for someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, or memory loss. It's an evidence-based program that is culturally adapted for our community, for our region, which is the San Diego region. And so we recognize that it could be very different than maybe, I don't know, let's say a community in Florida, which has more of a, Cuban, Spanish and culture versus ours. So yes, we do have that. And again, we're having that workshop on October 9th, and that is, you're all welcome to attend. Lots of resources, health screenings, resource tables. I know the county is going to be there as well. So feel free to come on by and let us know how we can support you. A lot of the videos that we also have in the iCare portal are in Spanish, and they do talk about health care and incorporating self-care.
Right. And let's see here if there's any other additional questions. Is there a resource directory in Southern California that helps find for trusted providers?
If there's a resource directory,
Yes, and I think Martha, you referred to that as the network of care
yes.
in California. Yes.
Yes, that would be the again caregivercalifornia.org, and it has a ton of information. Um, a blog, there's information from all of the caregiver resource centers throughout the state. Now, what's really interesting about this is that if there's something that we don't provide, but somebody else does in Northern California, you can access that information. We share each other's, we support each other. So really you have at your fingertips a wealth of information just by going to caregivercalifornia.org, or you can come to us and we can connect you because we are part of this network of care.
All right. And let's see here. There's also a question. Do you have the schedule? And I believe, Martha, this may be referring to the schedule of Spanish events that you were referring to, but do you have a schedule for those in English?
Absolutely. If you go to www.scrc.care. That's our website. And on that website, you will find a schedule, a calendar of all of our events, English and Spanish. And of course, sometimes we even have events where we are participating with other groups as well. So I do encourage you to check that out. The calendar is there. Mhm.
Thank you, Martha. There was another question of how would a caregiver know when to use the benefits from Medicare or Medi-Cal in supporting a person? As we alluded to earlier, we did put the resource for the HICAP health insurance and advocacy program that's available to help you with that specific, yeah, any really specific questions regarding Medicare.
Yes, and if I could also add to that,
Yeah.
we have partners, resources available to our family caregivers who are in this field. So we do work very closely with HICAP. We also work very closely with elder care, elder law and advocacy. We also have medical regulation specialists, and they focus specifically on Medi-Cal questions and issues. A great benefit that we have, and again, thanks to the support of the state and the county, is if you have any of these legal and financial questions as a caregiver, what do I do with the assets? Like the question that's here on the chat, how do you know when to start drawing on Medicare or Medi-Cal to support someone? Those are very specific questions that the attorneys that we work with can help answer. And by being our caregiver, our client, we give you that consultation for free. So you can have that free consultation because we know that being a caregiver is so difficult. So to add on all of these questions about finances and what do I do with Medi-Cal and Medicare and where do I begin? And then what, I still need to take care of my health. It's a lot. So give us a call and we'll help you navigate and put you in contact with the appropriate individuals to guide you.
All right. Well, what a great presentation from Martha. Thank you so much. And thank you again for joining us today. So for just before we go, I just wanted to share with you some announcements. Um, we ask that you let us know about what you thought about this webinar and the information presented. We're going to add a link in the chat, or you can actually scan a QR code to complete this very short 2-question feedback form. The question is, I've learned something today in today's webinar that will help myself or my organization or community. And the second question is, what will you do with the information that you learned today from Martha? There's no wrong answers, so we'll give you a couple minutes to fill this out. Thank you for responding to the feedback form. It's incredibly insightful. So again, I want to thank you for joining us today for upcoming events. We have a hackathon kickoff event next Saturday and our Live Advance in School Summit, which is on October 22nd. So for more information and to register, you can visit us at our Virtual Connection Hub website or our Live Advance website using the link in the chat. Registration for the advance will be opening soon, so this page will be updated actually with today's recording. So if we missed your question today, don't worry. Please email us. As always, you can stay up to date with webinars and resources like this one today by subscribing to our newsletter as well. The link is in the chat. So that's all we have time for together today. Thank you again to everyone, and especially Martha Rañón, Esperanza Southern Caregiver Resource Center. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope to connect with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.